I'm going to respond a little bit here quick to Pat's video on knowledge as substance. And I think the way that I would want to address and cut into some of this question about knowledge and its relationship to conception, this is the way I think is a good way to start. One is that Pat suggests that words are a vocalization of concepts. It's as if, in some way, he seems to be suggesting that words represent those concepts rather than the things. There's something about that at first pass that I think most people would be tempted to agree with, and it's largely, I think, there's much to agree about in that, but I don't think that's as nuanced as I would want to go. I think there is much more, and it's, again, I think Pat's video is very helpful, very insightful, articulate. Um, I I would say here would be some offerings really quickly as a way to address some of these problems, and especially the way that you're coming at the problem of original genius or something like the ability to transcend the gaps and somehow bridge and bring together either insights or bodies of knowledge. The Carl Sagan example that Pat keeps giving. First off, the way to say it is words create concepts that people confuse for things. That would be the way to say it, from my perspective. That words, they seem to just represent concepts, and there is some sense in which that, again, seems to be the case, but that's going to miss the real phenomena. The more that you really want to get at it, you're going to have to address the way that language actually creates the concepts. And it's the historical indebtedness that gives the illusion that there was a concept that's just being represented by the word. The best example would be to go back to the Platonic notion of the beautiful. We look and Plato sees a beautiful fountain, he sees a beautiful statue, and he sees a beautiful painting, and he asks, what is the beautiful per se? That is, he wants to get at the notion of the beautiful as a concept, sort of arrested from any particular instantiation of that. That is, the beautiful, beauty as a concept. By the time John Dewey writes Experience in Nature, in his brilliant chapter there on nature, communication, and meaning, he suggests that the Greeks thought that they had discovered the structure, a kind of regulative ideal in the cosmos, but what they'd really discovered was a dialogue that had been ongoing, and they took the structure that the world assumes given the language for the structure of things. So the critical question that I would want to raise here is, to what extent was literacy the model that produced this common sense that words just represent? And then I think Pat's very right. Most people probably think words represent things in the world. He's very right-minded in suggesting that no, words actually represent concepts. But even there, I don't think that words represent. Your mind is actually a minding in the ongoing event of communication. It's a kind of autopoietic process. It's the equivalent of a kind of metabolism, and this continuous taking into account, this process of speaking and of speech, again, however you want to address that phenomenon. If you do it as a noun or as a verb, it seems so different. But even that, see, it's the word choices themselves are leading to certain kinds of concepts. Now, I think part of the problem of this gets addressed in philosophy with the question of, are there naturally occurring kinds of things? Do kinds and is there a kind of categorical similarity in the world, or is all categorical representation a form of abstracting that's arbitrarily done by the person? Again, I would want to say that literacy is the culprit in all of this. Please, people, go become familiar with the media ecology tradition. Try to learn about the history of literacy and how literacy has freed up the individual from the collective web. I think the oral peoples, holy oral peoples, and people lived in a holy oral echo chamber for thousands and thousands of years of complete oral consciousness that slowly became literate, and now literacy has so funded along with money, funded a notion of an autonomous individual, of the creative person who's separate from the collective. I mean, it's all very dialectical. I mean, notice it that the book is the first mass-produced item. I mean, the book is, it's the principle of identical replicability. That itself becomes the model and metaphor, the distribution of knowledge, and as it disseminates its message, which is seriality, uniformity, identical replication of the same, um, that itself maybe creates the need for people to say, no, I'm an individual, while simultaneously it does create freestanding individuals, at least in a way that collectivist, historically embedded society did not.